Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. Today there is a thunderstorm going on in my place, so occasionally you might hear some background noise. Now let us head to the JForex 4 where we will be considering Chande's Qstick. This is a one interesting indicator developed by Mr. Tushar Chande way back in 1990s. We will be considering its basic concept, underlying logic. We will try to see how it is calculated and how we can utilize this particular indicator to take advantage of the market dynamics to gain profit. So let us now head to the J4X4. This is the Euro USD chart with the each candle period defined at hourly. Let me add the indicator. Here it comes. This is very simple to understand. The calculation is basically dependent on the difference between the closing and the opening price of n period of candles. So suppose, for example, if we are taking 8 as the calculation period, then last 8 candlesticks are considered, their closing price and opening price are compared, and the difference is taken into consideration, and afterwards the SMA of that difference is calculated. So if on balance, or you can say on average, if the closing price has been higher than the opening price, then we will have the output of the CQS in positive territory. If the closing price has been lower on an average compared to the opening price, then we will have the CQS value in negative territory. So it gives you the idea of the sentiments simply by considering the difference between the opening and the closing price. So you can make an informed trading decision depending on how things are shaping up in the market. If you see that on an average the price is declining, then of course it is a better idea to go with the flow and keep looking for shorting opportunities whenever you see some sort of retracement, some sort of short-term rally from the lower prices. And if the underlying momentum is bullish, then of course the natural course of action would be to go for the long trade. So we can consider these changes in sentiments if the value is turning from negative to positive, or for that matter vice versa, if the output value is changing from positive to negative. We can take this as a critical marker, as a turning point for the underlying instrument. But of course there is also a catch, and that is the thing when we have the sideways scenario there in those kind of market dynamics. We will see these value changing course quite swiftly, quite regularly, and that is going to cause some confusion, and that is a drawback, or you can say a shortcoming of working with the indicators based on moving averages. So there is one drawback which we have to keep in mind. But when the trend is quite strong in those kind of scenarios, we will have these CQS output consistently in the same direction. So in trending markets, you will be making quite a good amount of money using these indicator. But of course, losses are likely when the underlying instrument is not really going anywhere. It is simply staying within the range. In those kind of circumstances, it is not going to work as such, and we will have to use some filtering mechanisms to factor in these kind of developments, factor in these kinds of market dynamics where the range is quite limited. So both these things have to be considered, and accordingly, if you use these Chande's Qstick indicator, you will stand to gain from these price fluctuation. Suppose, for example, if we consider the price development so far in the session for Euro USD, here you can see that earlier in the day, after the start of the European trading session, we had this bearish undertone for the Euro USD that was also reflected in this CQS output being in negative territory. Suppose, for example, if you were to go short after this crossover happened, you would have made quite a good amount of money, and then as the price dynamic changed, we also saw the CQ's output eventually around the start of the US session, turning from negative to positive. So this is now an opportunity to go long, but there was quite a large price fluctuation in today's trading session. So here you would see that the Euro USD initially went on to surge almost 30 more than 30 pips, but all those gains evaporated in quick time as we saw this nosedive of almost 50 pips from the highest point to the lowest point. So in this kind of swift changes, the CQS output is not going to respond that swiftly as it is based on the moving averages. So the moving averages are going to take time to respond to these swift changes, and that is also one sort of shortcoming while working with the Chande's Qstick, which we do have to keep in mind. So if you are well aware of these drawbacks and advantages, you can customize this indicator to work to your benefit, work to your advantage. So all you have to do is consider these changes and accordingly plan your trading strategy. This is a very simple indicator to understand, to work with, and also quite easy to read into. So the price fluctuations are going to be your guide, and then accordingly you can initiate your trades. Now, if we consider the customization options available on the platform, we will see some of the editing options given on the platform to consider what are the customizations which we can do to make this indicator work better for us. So let's consider those options as well. It's taking some time. Let's wait for a few more seconds. So on this editing panel, you will get the options to edit its calculation period. For more smoothing, you can increase the calculation period. So for 8 calculation period, you will see the responsiveness to be higher. If you go on to increase its calculation period, for example, like 50 or more than that, then there will be a lot more smoothing, and the swift price changes are not going to be reflected immediately in the Qstick output value. It will take the change to be quite significant and consistent to be reflected in the Qstick output. So that is going to be the case when you increase these calculation period. So let me show you. Simply, if you increase this to 50 and we keep the moving average type to SMA, you can vary it as well. So we get all these options of going with the SMA, EMA, WMA. So all these types of moving averages are given on the platform. You can try it out one by one and see how things work out for you. T3, which tends to be quite smoother compared to the SMA, we will have a very different output for the Q sticks if we are using the T3 and 50 as our desired combination. And here you can notice, as I said earlier also, that the responsiveness is going to be a lot lower, but the smoothing is now quite higher. So when we see these price fluctuations and the output of the CQ as it is going to take some more time for the swift changes to be reflected, and that is what we are seeing here. The undertone was bearish for quite a long period of time, and only when it remained sideways for this long period, we saw eventually in course of time the CQ's output turning from negative to positive now here. Even though there was deep in the initial hours of the European trading hours, we didn't really see that being reflected in the CQS output. So this is one major difference when you use higher calculation period and also a lot more smooth moving average like T3. Let's now try out another combination. Say for example a value like 24 and EMA. 24 is going to get us the average price fluctuation for last 1 day, and even in that kind of scenario here you are see that there were quite a lot of signals being generated. There were frequent changes as these output value tried to follow closely the price moves of the Euro USD. So here you are seeing that the responsiveness is a lot higher. So these are some of the options available to you on the platform. I would suggest that you try it out. You see what kind of combination is likely to work best for you, and if you do that, you will always be in a position to come up with a solid combination which will suit your trading style, suit your requirements, and then you can exploit that to your advantage. Now I am going to revert back to the default formation of the 8 and SMA. The output, we can go for different color combinations. I think this is working just fine, so I will keep it as it is. If you feel like, you can also change this styling combination from bar chart to a simple single line. If you feel like it, you can try it out. If you think that it is looking too prominent on the chart, you can increase the transparency factor, and yeah, you can see that now it is a lot less prominent on the chart, but I would now prefer it in the OPEC for levels. We use 0 as a defining level. Above it is, as I said, and easy to read, is considered bullish, and below 0 is considered bearish. Recalculate on new candle only if you opt in for this option. You will see that the output value will be locked in at the start of the new candle, and it will remain throughout the current candle period. Highlight the time period zone, whatever is your calculation period, it will be highlighted with this option. You can customize the calculation further. Instrument can be used from the chart or you can specify it. Same thing applies for the candle period. You can use the chart option or you can even specify it as per your choice, and you can have a different combination. Now here we have hourly as our charts defined time period, but the calculation for the Qstick is being done using 15 minutes. So a lot more data will be used for the calculation of these output value when we have these lower time frame defined for the calculation of the Chande's Q-stick indicator, whereas the chart's candle period is higher. All right, 87% complete. It should be reaching 100% soon, and here it comes. Okay, oh, it is still to come. All right, we got it now finally. And here you can see on the chart it's a lot more responsive, and it is working with the 15-minute being its defined candle period, and accordingly the values are a lot more responsive to the price fluctuations in the Euro USD, even though the chart is defined as per the hourly time. Editing options available to you on the platform. Now I will revert back to the use from the chart. Spread side, ask and bid, you can use this. Only slight difference will be there, not much. Show indicator on all the periods. So for example, if you want this indicator to be available on all the candle periods, you can do that as well. Or else you can specify on which particular candle period you want this indicator, and only on those time frame it will be visible on the chart and not otherwise. So here, now as I have opted for hourly and 5 minutes, only on these two time frames we are going to have this indicator. But if I try 15 minutes or any other candle period, it won't be visible. So you can have multiple indicators on the chart and you can read into all those data points independently and draw informed trading decisions using multiple data points. So that is one advantage of working with these different indicators on different time frames. So with these, I think my job is done. And here, if you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me the feedback, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. See you next time around with a new and equally interesting indicator to work with. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.